Thank you for tuning back into the network. I am your host with the most, Nick Nightmare, and we are here to talk about SmackDown Live. But before we do that, since tonight was a very special night, we are going to start off with 205 Live. If you guys missed it, you missed a great show, man. This show is everything that the Cruiserweight division needs to be. We had 3 fantastic matches, a bunch of highlight packages featuring the stories so that we can get to know these guys intimately and a little bit more than we already do. Some really great stuff proving without a doubt that if you give these guys time, they will win the crowd over. You cannot give them 4-minute matches. And this show is case in point. For those of you that do not know, 205 Live is taped immediately following SmackDown. So now this is a crowd who's been through 2, maybe 3 hours of action already. And the 10 o'clock hour, notoriously for Monday Night Raw, is the dead zone. From 10 to 11, people are tired, they're drawn out, they just want to go home at that point. And I feel like the same thing was going to happen. You're starting 205 Live in the death slot. But it didn't happen here. Because the talent of the roster on these guys won the crowd over by the end of the night. The show started off, they introduced everybody on the stage. Everybody that's going to be featured on this show in the division was on that stage. And they were announced one by one. And only Cedric Alexander got some kind of a response, and that is because he is from North Carolina. Everywhere else, crickets, man. Nothing at all. And my fears was that this was going to happen, and it did. But you slowly started to feel it during the first match, which was a very nice tag team match featuring the Bollywood boys, Harv and Gurv Sira, versus Drew Gulak and Tony Nese, 2 guys that you've been familiar with if you've been watching Monday Night Raw, and this match was able to showcase these guys properly. It was unbelievable. You can't describe a proper cruiserweight match because words don't do them any justice. One of the best things about 205 Live, for me, was the surprise addition of the greatest man that ever lived, Austin Aries, to the announce team. Now, I believe he's only going to be there for a short while because he's already hinted that, he's here to lend his expertise. He's here to make the show great. And, when he feels ready, he's going to jump in there with these guys at 205 and dominate them all, which would be fantastic. Austin Aries is an untapped talent for the WWE, and I look forward to him being able to compete with these guys on this show, putting on 30-minute classic matches. 3 great matches tonight. The first one I said, this tag team match. The Bollywood boys get the win. The crowd didn't really care too much, but towards the end of this match, you could start to feel a little bit of a rumbling going on. And then we had Jack Gallagher versus Arya Daivari. I love Jack Gallagher. He's a little weird man. And his performance in the ring is very strange, but it just comes off as very entertaining. He tied Arya Daivari up in a knot, much like he did during his match in the Cruiserweight Classic, to who he fought. I apologize, but I forget at the moment. And Jack Gallagher would get the win in a very impressive fashion, kicking Arya Daivari's teeth right down his throat with a very impressive turnbuckle drop kick, leading us to our main event. A beautiful, well-crafted matchup between Brian Kendrick and the outlandish Rich Swann, who at the end of this night would win the Cruiserweight Championship in impressive fashion. knocking Brian Kendrick's jaw clean from his skull with 3 powerful spinning heel kicks to just fell the champion after he tried over and over and over to lock in the captain's hook and almost had Rich Swann tapping out just a couple of times. But holy shit, you guys, go back and watch it. Austin Aries is amazing on the commentary. He is what Corey Graves is to Raw. And Corey Graves is part of this announced team too, but he is clearly on another level as everybody else that does announce teams. And he and Mauro Ranallo are fantastic. And then you add Austin Aries into the mix, being a real heel announcer, really giving it to these guys, saying things like Herp and Derp. Which one's Herp? Which one's Derp? He didn't even pronounce their names right. Harv and Gerv Sierra. Herp and Derp. I loved it. Made me laugh out loud. He goes on to say that they're just grateful to have indoor plumbing and to take a nice clean shower and things of that nature. It's fantastic commentary work, Austin Aries. I am so looking forward to the rest of this show. Even if it's a new guest announcer every week or Austin Aries has a turn and then they bring in other guys, I don't care, because the base of Corey Graves and Mauro Ranallo really sell this show on a whole nother level, man. 205 Live on the WWE Network immediately after SmackDown. If you missed it, go back and watch it, because you will thank me. It was, hands down, the best wrestling show of the week up until now. We do have NXT and Lucha Underground tomorrow night, so there's some stiff competition now to be the best of the week on this show during the Nightmare Room this weekend. Let's move on, because if you clicked this video, you want to get back to SmackDown Live. SmackDown Live was a very good show. Excuse me while I grab my notes, as I forgot to place them in their proper position. But here we go. Just very basic. Nothing crazy on this show. Nothing spectacular on this show. But it was a decent go-home show, given what we've had to deal with as of late. SmackDown starts off with a very great segment. Contract signing for TLC Women's SmackDown Championship. Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss. I have to give Becky Lynch credit. She was good on the mic. I understood everything she said. I don't understand the honey badger thing. I guess I'd have to look into what the hell a honey badger is to figure out why she keeps using that as a term for herself, and probably is trying to get it over. So I'm going to find out for everybody what the fuck a honey badger actually is, and if it's even cool, or if she should just stop saying it, because it sounds weird. Would you want to be a honey badger? And I don't know. There's got to be something to it. We're going to look into that. Not really important, but I need to know. But this segment was fantastic. They really went at each other on the mic. Alexa with a couple of low blows, telling her, you know, I don't know what you were doing over there in the potato farm in Ireland, but nobody can understand you. You make me sick when you speak. Becky on the comebacks. And this would end up as every single contract signing almost in history. We have fisticuffs, a little brawling, some shenanigans, and the table would be set up in the corner. Becky Lynch goes up to give a Bexploder from the top rope to Alexa Bliss, but Alexa will have none of that. Fights her way out of it and pushes Becky Lynch into and crashing through the table, showing the Raw women how it's done. And what a great exchange. What a good way to leave us hanging going in to this Sunday's TLC pay-per-view, where we would later find out that the match between the two is now a tables match as a result of what's happened during the contract signing. Fantastic segment. Segment number 2, Ziggler and Kalisto. A very strange pairing. Strange bedfellows tag team match here. Versus Baron Corbin and The Miz. Baron Corbin doesn't need a partner. He's a lone wolf. He doesn't want a partner. And this is just strange to me. Two feuds. Tagging them up. to get him over, to get him on TV right before the show. I get it. Commercial breaks in a bad spot, as always. This match was actually very good. It started off well, it was picking up momentum, and it was just kind of cut way too short as Baron Corbin would lose his patience and come in wailing a chair around and getting Kalisto after he hit the Selena del Sol on The Miz, and I thought we were actually going to get a clean pinfall on The Miz, but no. Excuse me. And they would get disqualified, and I don't know why they even did any of this. They could have had two completely different segments, each focusing on each individual feud. I don't know. The tag team match didn't really make much sense to me when they were only given about 5 or 6 minutes. It had the potential to go longer. It could have built up to something better, but going into it, do we really care about Baron Corbin versus Kalisto in a chairs match? What is a chairs match exactly? Does it really just mean that chairs are legal? How is that going to come off? I mean, I'm sure there's been some in the past, and like I say all the time, I've forgotten more wrestling than most people have seen, because I just don't stop ingesting it with my eyeballs. And a chairs match, if Edge and Christian aren't in it, I don't see how it's going to be very entertaining. We had an interview with American Alpha talking about their match later tonight with the Wyatt family, and that would lead right into a segment with the Wyatt family, almost like a retort promo. But the interesting thing here would be Randy Orton took control of this promo. He would tell Bray Wyatt, hey, I got this, and would go on to tell American Alpha that they're going down. And then he turns to Luke Harper and gets in his face. And it's like, we're going to do what we got to do. Are you going to be able to do what you got to do when you go up against Kane? And then I felt my dinner come up a little bit, because how many times are we going to see Luke Harper and Kane? I don't care. But Luke Harper stands face to face with Randy Orton. I know what I got to do. Don't worry. Bray Wyatt tells Luke Harper, bring Kane back to hell. And that's the end of that. Which led us into a women's division match. Out comes Carmella, the Princess of Staten Island. And she starts running down Nikki Bella. She gets the mic, starts talking shit about Nikki Bella, starts talking shit to John Cena, apologizing in advance because she is going to burst Nikki's Bella twins, her little boobles, her big boobles, and is going to break her pretty face. And the more she went on with this, Nikki Bella just could not handle anymore and came out to shut her mouth, and the two would brawl. Again, building up and leading into the no disqualification match between the two coming up this Sunday. Should be a great match. These girls aren't afraid to throw down. Nikki Bella's been fantastic since she's returning, and Carmella's been building herself up very well. It's been a great feud. I look forward to this whole pay-per-view so far, with the exception of Corbin and Kalisto. I could care less about that match. But every other match is really shaping up to be a very good show. What else do we got here? The Ambrose Asylum. With our guest, the now kind of played out James Ellsworth. And this was starting off as just one of your standard, very drab Dean Ambrose Asylums, where they were just jockeying back and forth to each other, little one-liners. They started to talk about AJ Styles. Ellsworth wanted to tout the fact that I have 3 wins over AJ Styles. Ha ha ha. And that would just be too much. And our World Heavyweight Champion would come to the ring and put a stop to all this, eventually leading to him executing a Styles Clash off the steel steps to the concrete floor on James Ellsworth. It was a thing of beauty to see. It was just not because he crushed James Ellsworth, but I mean, yes, but he just executed it beautifully. I was afraid that he was going to actually clip his head. Like, the way you see him holding him and the way you see him going forward, it's almost like if he doesn't jump enough, he's going to smash his cranium right on the edge of those steel steps. It was very impressive, but it was pulled off with, no injury for real. But Ellsworth sold it fantastically. He just didn't move. He was frozen. He was dead on the floor there. They end up bringing him out. This would lead to later on Dean Ambrose getting pissed off and attacking AJ backstage. Just a bunch of great build towards this. I'm kind of glad they did this to Ellsworth because maybe he won't be involved Sunday if he's going to sell the injury that well, or is he going to come hobbling out with a neck brace again and do something to get involved and maybe cost Dean Ambrose the match, because AJ Styles is not losing, folks. AJ Styles is going on to fight The Undertaker at the Royal Rumble most likely, and he's going to be the champion, and if he's going to lose it to anybody, it's going to be to him. And if he doesn't lose it to The Undertaker, he's going to hold it until he loses it, unfortunately, to Cena to give him that 16th title reign that he's been so looking forward to having. And we had our Luke Harper versus Kane snooze fest. Actually, I should be a little honest. It really wasn't bad. It was probably better than what they gave us on the Survivor Series pre-show. It was maybe one of their better matches if you want to put it up against the others, but I'm just so tired of seeing it, I really didn't care. When it was over, I was like, no kidding. Kane wins with a chokeslam. So now we're burying Luke Harper, or is this part of the storyline? With the Wyatt family, he's going to lose, which makes me feel like Bray and Randy are going to win, and now there's going to be tension inside the Wyatt family. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. And after that, where am I here? Oh, yes. Okay, after that, we go right into the tag team title match. American Alpha versus the Wyatt family. And this was a great match. What a well-told story. A clash of styles that you will not see anywhere else. Randy Orton is the consummate professional. He really pulled off some great stuff. They made the young kids look great. Bray Wyatt has looked like a fucking beast since Randy Orton has joined the family. For some reason, just by association, Randy Orton has had a positive effect on Bray Wyatt. In the ring, you could see it. It's almost like he's smoother in the ring. And it doesn't sacrifice the look of the power, but the way he moves is a little more cat-like. He's a little more creepy. And I think Randy Orton has something to do with that behind the scenes, as he's kind of maybe taken Bray under his wing, because he probably sees a lot in the kid. This is a guy that should have been built like this from the beginning. If you would have established him with somebody that everybody knew, and he gained control over Daniel Bryan briefly, but if you could have drugged that out the way you're doing now with Randy Orton, and it's going to eventually lead to a turn and a battle between the two, but right now this is great. I'm loving Randy Orton in the Wyatt family. I was one of these guys that came out here telling everybody, don't worry, he's not going to be in the Wyatt family. This is all just blah. And yeah, that might be the end result, but he's actually in the Wyatt family right now. In it to the point where he's interrupting Bray Wyatt during his soliloquy promos, which nobody has ever done before. It's a beautiful thing when wrestling is done right, and it just makes me feel good. And I know now that after seeing the Wyatts defeat American Alpha tonight, where I thought on a few occasions that Alpha was going to pull it out and they were going to stick with the original plan, but the Wyatt family was just too much. And they would go for a grand amplitude, and then Chad Gable, going to execute his part of the maneuver, would run into an RKO out of nowhere. And when I say out of nowhere, I mean out of nowhere with this one, because Randy was nowhere in view. And then he was just there. Boom. Fucking RKO. Beautiful. Beautiful. Jason Jordan turns around, ends up in a Sister Abigail. 1, 2, 3. Unbelievable. Jason Jordan, right before he ate that Sister Abigail, goes to spear Bray Wyatt, and Luke Harper, who is outside, would pull Bray Wyatt out of the way. More shenanigans. Always shenanigans with the Wyatt families around. And that's how you book it. And unfortunately, for Heath Slater and Rhino, start to feed your kids now. You better store that above ground pool well, because you ain't going to be buying a new one next year. Your time is up. I don't know what they're going to do with these guys when it's over, but it's only a matter of hours until the Wyatt family take the SmackDown Tag Team titles. And I can't wait to see it happen. TLC this weekend is going to be a great show. The build could have been better, but how much can you do in 2 weeks? I think given the whole of the 2 weeks, I would give them maybe a B grade. Not A grade stuff, but you did very well. Continuing some of the stories from the previous pay-per-view, I know you had Survivor Series in the middle, kind of threw the wrench into what everybody had going on. Raw suffered from it, even though they suffer from brain disease. And no matter what they try, it just doesn't work the way things work on SmackDown Live. I don't know why. I don't know why that is. Listen, guys, again, if you did not watch 205 Live, you have to go and watch it. If you have the network, please watch it. You will thank me. Trust me. Don't forget to hit that like button. Thank you for indulging me this evening for our SmackDown Live review. It could have been maybe a little deeper in depth, but I'm kind of tired. I've never really done these things right after the show, but, you know, my time is limited, and tomorrow I will be working all day, so I will have no time to do or post a review, so I had to do it now, and I tried to be as entertaining as I can for you, but we're going to have to call it a day on that one. I am Nick Nightmare. This has been the SmackDown Live review, and for the first time ever, the 205 Live review. Don't forget TLC this Sunday on the WWE Network. Do not forget to tune in to us this weekend for our TLC preview and prediction show. We're going to have an all-new Nightmare Room where we're going to unveil some of the categories for this year's year-end awards show, yet to be titled. Anybody has an idea for a title or a cool thing we can call the awards, feel free to leave a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe if you have not done so already. This is my boy Blue, the Snowball Microphone. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Come back for more later this week. I'm Nick Nightmare. You guys have a good night.